The hidden struggle. Anna Martinez shivered as she made her way through the pristine grounds of the Beverly Hills estate, her worn shoes crunching against the frost-covered grass. At 25, she had never imagined she would be here, working as a temporary maid at one of Hollywood's most prestigious addresses while living out of her car. The morning sun cast long shadows across the immaculately maintained lawn as she followed Gordon Carfield, the estate's stern-faced supervisor, toward the pool area. Remember, Gordon's clipped tone carried across the morning air, Mr. Reeves expects perfection. One mistake and you're out. He thrust a pool net into her hands, his eyes critically assessing her cleaned-up appearance. The shower she'd been ordered to take had been her first in days, and though humiliating, she was grateful for it. "Yes, sir," Anna responded quietly, gripping the pole with determination. She couldn't afford to lose this opportunity, not when her mother's medical bills were piling up and her own situation was growing more desperate by the day. As Gordon strode away, Anna began methodically clearing leaves from the Olympic-sized pool, her movements careful and precise. The water reflected the winter sky above, a stark blue that reminded her of better days, days before cancer had ravaged her mother's body and drained their savings, days before she'd lost her job at the accounting firm and eventually their apartment. The work was monotonous but peaceful, allowing her mind to wander. She thought about her car, parked blocks away to hide her circumstances, and the makeshift bed she'd created in the back seat. 6 months of homelessness had taught her to be resourceful, to find dignity in small victories like maintaining her uniform or keeping her phone charged through the kindness of strangers. "You missed a spot." The voice, gentle and curious rather than accusatory, startled Anna from her thoughts. She turned to find Keanu Reeves himself standing a few feet away, dressed casually in jeans and a black sweater. His presence was unexpected. Gordon had mentioned he would be out until the afternoon event. "I'm sorry, Mr. Reeves," Anna quickly moved to catch the errant leaf, her hands trembling slightly. "I'll be more thorough." "No need to apologize," he smiled, walking closer to the pool's edge. "I actually came to ask if you'd like some coffee. The kitchen staff mentioned you've been out here since dawn." The kindness in his voice nearly undid her. "Thank you, but I should finish here first," she gestured to the remaining debris. Keanu nodded, but instead of leaving, he picked up a spare net from the pool house. "Then let me help. 2 pairs of hands are better than 1. Anna wanted to protest, this wasn't how things were done, but there was something disarming about his presence. They worked in companionable silence for several minutes before he spoke again. "I haven't seen you here before. Are you new?" "Temporary," Anna explained, focusing on a cluster of leaves. "The agency sent me for the weekend events." "Ah," he paused, studying her with gentle interest. "And how long have you been with the agency?" 6 months, she answered truthfully, though she didn't mention how the sporadic work barely kept her afloat. Their conversation was interrupted by Gordon's horrified gasp from the patio. "Mr. Reeves." "Sir. Please, let me handle this. You shouldn't be out here doing manual labor." Keanu waved off the concern with a good-natured laugh. "It's my pool, Gordon. I think I'm allowed to clean it if I want to." The supervisor's face reddened as he struggled between protocol and his employer's wishes. "But sir, the guests will be arriving soon. You should be preparing." "You're right," Keanu conceded, handing the net back to Anna. "Thank you for the company. What was your name?" "Anna." "Anna Martinez." "Nice to meet you, Anna. I hope you'll stay for the party later." Before she could explain that temporary staff weren't invited to such events, he was gone, following Gordon back into the house. Anna stood there for a moment, pool net in hand, wondering at the surreal interaction. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of activity. Anna finished with the pool and was assigned to help in the kitchen, where she spent hours polishing silverware and arranging place settings. The work was exhausting but welcome, each hour meant money toward her mother's next treatment. As evening approached, the villa came alive with music and laughter. Through the kitchen windows, Anna could see guests arriving in expensive cars, women in elegant dresses and men in tailored suits making their way into the house. She kept to the shadows, efficient and invisible, just as she'd been trained. It was past midnight when the last guest departed. Anna's feet ached as she helped clear glasses and plates, her movements slower now that fatigue had set in. She was arranging leftovers in containers when Gordon appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Mr. Reeves would like to see you in his study," he announced, his expression unreadable. Anna's heart dropped. Had she done something wrong? She followed Gordon through the quiet house, past artwork worth more than she'd ever earn, until they reached a heavy wooden door. Gordon knocked once before ushering her inside. The study was warm and inviting, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and comfortable leather furniture. Keanu sat behind a large desk, reading through what appeared to be a script. He looked up as she entered, smiling that same gentle smile from earlier. "Anna, thank you for staying so late. Please, sit down." She perched nervously on the edge of a chair, hands folded in her lap. "Is everything all right, Mr. Reeves? That's what I wanted to ask you." His expression grew serious. "One of my security staff noticed something concerning on the cameras earlier. They saw you walking here this morning, nearly 3 miles from where you parked your car." Anna's blood ran cold. This was it, she was about to be fired, maybe even reported to the agency. "I can explain. You don't have to," he interrupted softly. "I had someone check on your car. They saw the blankets in the back seat, the way everything was arranged." He leaned forward, his eyes filled with compassion rather than judgment. "Anna, are you living in your car?" The question, asked with such genuine concern, broke something inside her. Tears she'd held back for months spilled down her cheeks as she nodded, unable to speak. "How long?" 6 months, she whispered, wiping her eyes with trembling hands. "My mother, she has cancer. The treatments took everything we had, and then I lost my job, and then our apartment." Keanu listened intently as Anna's story poured out, how she'd been an accountant before everything fell apart, how she tried to keep her mother's treatment going even after they lost their home, how she'd managed to survive on temporary work and the kindness of strangers. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached for his phone. "It's late, and it's freezing outside. I'm calling my driver to take you to get your car and belongings. There's a guest house on the property that's not being used. You'll stay there tonight, and tomorrow we'll figure out a more permanent solution." Anna stared at him in disbelief. "Mr. Reeves, I can't accept dash." "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "And please, call me Keanu. Now, do you need help getting your things?" In a daze, Anna found herself in the back seat of a luxury car, directing the driver to the alley behind the Golden Fork. As they loaded her meager possessions into the trunk, she caught the driver giving her a sympathetic look. The kitchen hand who had helped her for so long came out to say goodbye, pressing a paper bag of fresh pastries into her hands. The guest house was larger than any apartment she'd ever lived in, with a fully stocked kitchen and a bed that felt like a cloud after months of sleeping in her car. As Anna lay there in the dark, warm for the first time in recent memory, she wondered if perhaps this was all a dream. But the next morning would prove that sometimes reality could be more incredible than any dream, and that kindness could come from the most unexpected places. As she drifted off to sleep, Anna had no idea that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined, all because one person had taken the time to really see her. A new dawn. Anna woke to sunlight streaming through real windows, not the frosted glass of her car, and for a moment, she felt disoriented by the unfamiliar comfort. The guest house's bedroom was bathed in golden morning light, making the previous night's events feel even more surreal. As she sat up in the cloud-soft bed, her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Breakfast in the main house at 8 K." It was 7:30. Anna rushed to get ready, grateful for the guest house's fully stocked bathroom. She found her uniform, freshly laundered and pressed, hanging on the closet door. Someone must have taken care of it while she slept. The simple act of kindness brought tears to her eyes. When she arrived at the main house's kitchen, she found not the usual bustle of staff preparing for the day, but Keanu himself standing at the stove, spatula in hand. "Hope you like pancakes," he said without turning around. "Coffee's ready if you want some." Anna stood frozen in the doorway, uncertain of protocol. Everything she knew about being household staff seemed inadequate for this situation. Should I help?" "You should sit," Keanu said firmly, pointing to a stool at the kitchen island with his spatula. "We have a lot to talk about." As Anna perched nervously on the stool, Gordon appeared in the doorway. His eyes widened at the scene before him, but before he could speak, Keanu cut him off. "Gordon, could you give us the room? And please cancel Anna's temporary assignment. She'll be staying on permanently, in a different capacity." The supervisor's mouth opened and closed several times before he managed a tight nod and retreated. Anna's heart raced at Keanu's words. Permanent? Different capacity? Keanu placed a plate of pancakes in front of her before taking the seat across the island. "Eat first. Then we'll talk." The pancakes were surprisingly good, light and fluffy with real maple syrup. Anna couldn't remember the last time she'd had a proper breakfast. As she ate, Keanu sipped his coffee and studied some papers spread out before him. "So," he began once she'd finished, "I did some checking last night." "You were an accountant?" Anna nodded, wondering how he'd found that information. "At Marshall and Reed, for 3 years before." She trailed off, the memory of losing her job still painful. "Before your mother got sick and you had to start taking too many days off to care for her," Keanu finished gently. "I spoke with your former supervisor there. She had nothing but praise for your work." Anna blinked in surprise. "You called Janet?" "I did. And I called the hospital where your mother is being treated." He held up a hand as Anna started to protest. "I hope you'll forgive the invasion of privacy, but I needed to understand the full situation to know how best to help. Mr. Reeves, Keanu, I appreciate everything you've done, but I can't accept more help. The guest house alone is too much. What if it wasn't help, but a job offer?" He slid one of the papers across the island to her. "My charitable foundation needs a new financial manager. Someone detail-oriented, good with numbers, and most importantly, someone who understands firsthand how critical timing can be when it comes to medical care and housing security." Anna stared at the paper. It was a job description, with a salary that made her head spin. "But I've been out of accounting for 6 months. And yet you've managed to survive, budget your limited resources, and maintain your dignity in impossible circumstances. That shows more financial acumen than most CPAs I know." His expression grew serious. "The foundation helps people in situations like yours, Anna. People who are one medical emergency away from losing everything. We need someone who can look at the numbers and see the people behind them." Tears blurred Anna's vision as she read through the job description. It was real. All of it was real. "There's more," Keanu continued. "The position comes with housing, the guest house, if you want it, and full medical benefits that would cover your mother's treatments." "Why?" The question escaped before Anna could stop it. "Why do all this for me?" Keanu was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "Did you know I was homeless once? Living out of a car, trying to make it as an actor. I never forgot what that felt like, or the people who helped me along the way." He smiled. "Sometimes the universe puts people in our path for a reason. Maybe you needed help, or maybe the foundation needed someone exactly like you. Probably both." Before Anna could respond, her phone buzzed, the hospital calling. She almost ignored it, but Keanu nodded encouragingly. "Take it." The news wasn't good. Her mother's latest test results showed the cancer was spreading faster than expected. They needed to start a new treatment protocol immediately, but without payment. Keanu watched as Anna's face crumpled. Without a word, he pulled out his phone and stepped into the next room. Anna could hear him speaking firmly to someone, catching phrases like immediate authorization and full coverage. When he returned, his expression was satisfied. The hospital's billing department will be calling you back shortly. Everything's been taken care of. He held up a hand as Anna started to protest. Consider it an advance on your salary. Once you're settled in at the foundation, we can work out a reasonable repayment plan if it makes you more comfortable. The phone rang again, the hospital calling back to confirm that all charges had been authorized and her mother's treatment could begin that afternoon. As Anna hung up, overwhelmed by the rapid turn of events, Keanu slid a pen across the island. So, what do you say? Ready to help us help others? Anna's hand shook as she reached for the pen, but her voice was steady. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Good. Take today to get your mother settled at the hospital. Tomorrow, I'll introduce you to the foundation team. He paused. Oh, and Anna. The guest house has a second bedroom. Once your mother's stronger, she should join you there. The recovery garden might do her some good. As Anna signed the contract, she noticed Gordon hovering anxiously in the doorway again. The supervisor's entire demeanor had changed, now he looked at her with a mixture of confusion and respect. Keanu noticed too and grinned. Gordon, would you show our new financial manager where to find the foundation's files? And maybe give her a proper tour of the property? She'll need to know her way around if she's going to be working here. The supervisor straightened, professionalism overcoming his surprise. Of course, sir. Right this way, Ms. Martinez. As Anna followed Gordon out of the kitchen, she heard Keanu on the phone again. Helen. It's Keanu. Remember that women's shelter project we've been discussing? I think I found someone who can help us make it happen. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across the polished floors. But for the first time in months, Anna didn't feel like she was walking in anyone's shadow. She was walking towards something new, something hopeful. And somehow, remarkably, she was exactly where she needed to be. The foundation office is this way, Gordon was saying, his clipped tone now tinged with respect. We'll need to get you set up with proper security clearance, of course. And I imagine you'll want to review the current budget allocations. Anna listened, taking mental notes, already thinking about ways to streamline processes and maximize the foundation's impact. She had gone from cleaning pools to managing millions in charitable funds in less than 24 hours. It seemed impossible, yet here she was. Her phone buzzed again, a text from her mother's nurse, confirming the afternoon's treatment schedule. Everything was falling into place with dizzying speed, but Anna felt strangely calm. Perhaps this was what hope felt like, not a desperate wish for things to get better, but a quiet certainty that they already were. Making a difference. 3 weeks into her new position at the Reeves Foundation, Anna sat in her office, a real office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the recovery garden, poring over financial reports. Her mother was asleep in the guest house's second bedroom, responding well to her treatments, while Anna immersed herself in the foundation's work. Ms. Martinez. Her new assistant, David, appeared in the doorway. The shelter director is here for your meeting. Anna looked up from a spreadsheet detailing the foundation's emergency housing initiatives. Send her in, please. Sarah Chen, director of the downtown women's shelter, was exactly as Anna had imagined from their phone calls, sharp-eyed and practical, with a weathered compassion that came from years in the trenches of social work. She carried a thick folder of documents and a world of worry in her expression. Thank you for meeting with me, Sarah began, settling into the chair across from Anna's desk. When Mr. Reeves said the foundation was restructuring its grant process, I wasn't sure what to expect. Anna smiled, remembering her own recent past. I believe we can do better than just writing checks. Tell me about your immediate needs. For the next hour, Sarah outlined the shelter's challenges: overcrowding, aging facilities, and most pressingly, a broken HVAC system that made the coming winter a looming crisis. As she spoke, Anna noticed her glancing curiously at the small melamine plate displayed prominently on a shelf behind the desk. "It was mine," Anna said quietly, interrupting Sarah's cost breakdown of heating repairs. "When I was homeless. 3 months ago, I was eating discarded pastries off that plate behind a restaurant." Sarah's eyes widened. "But you're the foundation's financial manager now, yes?" Anna's smile held both pride and pain. "Which is why I understand that numbers on a spreadsheet represent real people with real needs. Let's talk about immediate solutions for your heating problem, and then we can discuss a long-term sustainability plan." By the time Sarah left 2 hours later, they had drafted a comprehensive strategy that went far beyond the shelter's original request. The foundation would not only repair the HVAC system but also fund solar panels to reduce future utility costs, establish a job training program for residents, and create a transitional housing fund. "This is incredible," Sarah said, clutching the proposal. "But can the foundation afford such a comprehensive package?" "Actually, we'll save money in the long run," Anna explained. "By addressing root causes and creating sustainable solutions, we reduce the need for emergency interventions. It's not just about keeping people warm this winter, it's about helping them build a future where they can keep themselves warm." After Sarah left, Anna leaned back in her chair, emotionally drained but satisfied. A knock at her door revealed Keanu, casual in jeans and a black t-shirt despite the late hour. "I heard about the shelter proposal," he said, dropping into the chair Sarah had vacated. "Gordon says you're revolutionizing how we approach grants." "I hope that's a good thing," Anna replied, suddenly nervous. "I know it's unconventional. It's exactly what we needed." Keanu leaned forward, earnest. "Do you know why I hired you, Anna? Not just because you needed help, but because I saw how you maintained your dignity even at your lowest point. That carefully washed uniform, the way you arranged your meals on that plate, you never lost sight of your humanity." Anna glanced at the melamine plate, her talisman of harder times. "I had help. The kitchen hand at the restaurant." "Exactly. Small acts of kindness matter. But so does systemic change." He gestured to the proposal on her desk. "You're combining both. That's rare." Their conversation was interrupted by David. "Ms. Martinez? The kitchen hand from the Golden Fork is here. He says you asked to see him." James, the kitchen hand who had helped Anna survive for 6 months, entered nervously. He looked out of place in the elegant office, still wearing his work apron. "James," Anna stood, smiling. "Thank you for coming. I have a proposal for you." Over the next hour, Anna outlined her plan, a partnership between the foundation and the Golden Fork to create a formal food recovery program, with James as its coordinator. Instead of secretly helping one person at a time, he could officially rescue surplus food and distribute it to shelters and homeless individuals throughout the city. "We'll provide a van, proper storage equipment, and a salary," Anna explained. "You already know how to do this work, now you can do it openly, help more people, and get paid for it." James stared at the contract she slid across the desk. "But I'm just a kitchen hand." "No," Anna said firmly. "You're someone who saw a person in need and helped without judgment. That's exactly who we want running this program." After James left, clutching his contract like a lifeline, Keanu helped Anna gather her things for the evening. "You're full of surprises, Martinez. Running the numbers and changing lives, not bad for 3 weeks' work." "I learned from the best," she replied, thinking of his own quiet generosity. They walked together through the darkening gardens toward the guest house. Through the window, Anna could see her mother sitting up in bed, reading, a simple sight that still felt miraculous. "Oh," Keanu said, pausing at the garden gate. The foundation board meets tomorrow. They're eager to hear your vision for our future initiatives. Anna nodded, no longer intimidated by such challenges. I'll be ready. I know you will. He turned to leave, then stopped. Anna. That plate in your office. Yes. Keep it where everyone can see it. It's a good reminder of why we do this work. As Anna entered the guest house, her mother looked up from her book. Good day, sweetheart. The best, Anna replied, settling into the chair beside the bed. How are you feeling? Better every day. Her mother reached for her hand. I'm proud of you, you know. Not just for surviving, but for helping others survive too. Anna squeezed her mother's hand, thinking of Sarah's shelter, James's new program, and all the other projects taking shape on her desk. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to help people who were where she had been just weeks ago. But tonight, she was exactly where she needed to be, holding her mother's hand, watching the sunset paint the recovery garden in shades of gold. Through the window, she could see her old car parked in the driveway. She kept it as a reminder, just like the plate in her office. But now it wasn't a shelter, it was transportation to and from the foundation, a tool for moving forward rather than a place to hide. Just like Anna herself, it had found a new purpose. In the growing darkness, the lights of the main house glowed warmly, and somewhere inside, Anna knew Keanu was probably reading scripts or planning new ways to make the world a little better. She smiled, remembering their first meeting by the pool. How strange that cleaning leaves could lead to cleaning up lives, that one person's kindness could ripple out to touch so many others. Tomorrow would bring grant proposals and board meetings, shelter visits and program launches. But tonight, Anna took a moment to simply breathe, grateful for second chances and the opportunity to give them to others. Ripples of change. 6 months into her role at the Reeves Foundation, Anna stood before the city council, her hands steady as she presented the data that could change everything. The council chambers were packed, shelter directors, former homeless individuals, social workers, and even James, who had traded his kitchen apron for a suit today. The numbers don't lie, Anna stated, clicking to the next slide. Our integrated approach has reduced long-term homelessness by 27% in participating neighborhoods. Emergency room visits are down 40%. And most importantly, 68% of program participants have maintained stable housing for 3 months or longer. She could feel Keanu's supportive presence in the back of the room as she continued. We're requesting permission to expand these initiatives citywide. The foundation is prepared to commit $50 million over 5 years, but we need the city's partnership to succeed. Councilwoman Margaret Drake, known for her skepticism of private initiatives, leaned forward. Impressive statistics, Ms. Martinez. But why should we trust a celebrity's foundation with such a crucial social issue? The room tensed at the challenge, but Anna smiled. She'd been waiting for this question. Because, Councilwoman, 6 months ago I was living in my car behind a restaurant. Now I'm standing here, presenting a program that's already helped hundreds of people like me. She gestured to James. Our food recovery program coordinator used to be a kitchen hand who secretly fed homeless people. Now he runs a citywide network that distributes surplus food to shelters and individuals in need. The councilwoman's expression shifted as Anna continued, we're not just a celebrities foundation. We're people who've lived these experiences, working alongside people who understand them. And we're getting results. As she finished her presentation, Anna noticed Sarah Chen from the women's shelter giving her a thumbs up. The shelter's solar panels had already cut their operating costs by 30%, and their job training program had placed 15 women in stable employment. The council voted 11-2 to approve the expansion. Later that evening, as Anna walked through the recovery garden with Keanu, she could hardly believe how much had changed. Her mother, now in remission, was teaching art classes at Sarah's shelter. The guest house had become home. And the foundation's work was transforming lives across the city. You know, Keanu said, pausing by a bench, when I offered you this job, I thought I was helping one person. I had no idea you'd help transform the entire foundation. I just applied what I learned from being on both sides, Anna replied. When you understand the problems firsthand, the solutions become clearer. Their conversation was interrupted by David rushing across the garden. Ms. Martinez. There's an emergency at the new transitional housing complex. The complex, recently converted from an old hotel, was the foundation's latest project. Anna grabbed her keys, but Keanu was already heading for his car. I'm coming with you. They arrived to find a crowd gathered outside the building. A pipe had burst, flooding several units. Families stood on the sidewalk, clutching their belongings, fear evident in their eyes. For many, this transitional housing was their first stable home in months or years. They're saying we'll have to leave, one mother told Anna, crying. We can't go back to the shelter. My daughter just started at the local school. Anna felt a familiar surge of determination. No one is going back to the shelters, she announced loudly. She turned to Keanu. We'll need hotel rooms tonight, and contractors first thing tomorrow. He was already on his phone, making calls. Anna addressed the crowd, everyone will have a warm place to sleep tonight. Tomorrow, we'll start repairs. This is just a bump in the road, not the end of the journey. As they worked through the night, coordinating hotel arrangements and emergency services, Anna caught glimpses of her old self in the worried faces around her. She remembered that gnawing fear of losing everything, the desperate need for someone to say, I see you, and I won't let you fall. By dawn, every family was safely housed in nearby hotels. Construction crews were already assessing the damage, and Anna had drafted a plan to upgrade the building's entire plumbing system to prevent future incidents. You know what impressed me most? Keanu said as they watched the sun rise from the complex's rooftop. No one panicked. They trusted you because they know you understand. Anna thought about the melamine plates still displayed in her office, about James's food recovery program, about Sarah's thriving shelter. Understanding is important, but action matters more. We're creating a network of support that can weather any crisis. Her phone buzzed, the city council wanted to expedite permits for the plumbing repairs. Councilwoman Drake herself had intervened to cut through the red tape. Sometimes, seeing real results could change even the most skeptical minds. Mr. Reeves, a small voice called. They turned to find Sophie, the daughter of the crying mother from last night, standing shyly in the rooftop doorway. Ms. Martinez. I made you something. She held out a crayon drawing of the building, surrounded by smiling stick figures. At the top, in wobbly letters, she'd written, Thank you for not giving up on us. Anna felt tears prick her eyes as she accepted the drawing. This was why they did the work, not for statistics or council approvals, but for moments like this. For Sophie, who wouldn't have to change schools. For her mother, who wouldn't have to choose between shelter and stability. For every person who needed someone to say, I see you. As the city woke up around them, Anna could see her old parking spot behind the Golden Fork from the rooftop. The restaurant was now a key partner in their food recovery program, and the alley where she'd slept was being converted into a community garden. What's next? Keanu asked, following her gaze across the awakening city. Anna smiled, already forming plans. Everything. She thought about the council presentation, the burst pipe, the countless small victories and challenges that filled her days now. Each one was a chance to prove that understanding, action, and compassion could create lasting change. The sun climbed higher, painting the city in shades of possibility. There was still so much work to do, so many lives to touch, so many systems to change. But Anna Martinez, who had once eaten discarded pastries off a melamine plate, was ready for all of it. Because sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest acts of kindness, a charged phone, a warm meal, a helping hand. And sometimes they grow into something that can transform an entire city, one life at a time. Full circle. 1 year to the day after Anna had first cleaned leaves from Keanu's pool, she stood on a stage at the National Conference on Homelessness and Housing Solutions, preparing to deliver the keynote address. The audience was filled with social workers, policy makers, and foundation leaders from across the country, all eager to hear about the Los Angeles miracle, how one foundation had revolutionized the approach to homelessness. In the front row, she could see familiar faces, her mother, healthy and vibrant, sitting beside Sarah Chen, James, now running food recovery programs in 3 cities, and Keanu, deliberately seated among the crowd rather than on stage, letting Anna's story take center stage. A year ago, Anna began, her voice steady, I was living in my car, eating discarded pastries off a melamine plate. She held up the plate, now framed in a shadow box. This plate represented dignity when I had nothing else. Today, it represents something more, the power of seeing people, not problems. The lights dimmed as she clicked to her first slide, a before and after photo of the alley behind the Golden Fork, now a thriving community garden that provided fresh produce for James's food programs. We didn't just create programs, she continued. We created connections. When the City Council approved our expansion 6 months ago, they weren't just funding initiatives, they were investing in human potential. The statistics were impressive, homelessness down 35% citywide, emergency room visits reduced by 50%, stable housing retention rates above 75%. But Anna didn't dwell on numbers. Behind every percentage point is a person, she said, clicking to a new slide showing Sophie, the girl from the flooded housing complex, receiving an academic achievement award. This is Sophie. A year ago, she was facing her 3rd school change in 6 months. Today, she's top of her class. Her mother just completed our job training program and started her own catering business. In the audience, Sophie's mother wiped away tears as Anna continued, but we didn't just help Sophie's family. We learned from them. Their experience with the flooding helped us develop new emergency response protocols that have since helped hundreds of others. The presentation shifted to show the Foundation's latest initiative, a nationwide database connecting emergency resources, job opportunities, and housing solutions across cities. Homelessness doesn't stop at city limits, Anna explained. Neither should our solutions. Today, I'm announcing the Reeves Foundation's new National Connection Initiative. We're committing $200 million over 10 years to help other cities implement and improve upon our integrated model. The announcement drew gasps from the audience. This was more than just expansion, it was evolution. But money alone isn't enough, Anna continued. We need to change how we see the problem. Every person experiencing homelessness has a story, skills, and potential. Our job isn't just to provide shelter, it's to provide opportunities. She clicked to a series of photographs, James teaching food safety classes to new program coordinators, Sarah's shelter residents starting their own businesses, the transformed transitional housing complex, now a model for similar projects nationwide. These successes weren't created by the foundation, Anna said. They were created by people who just needed someone to believe in them. People like my first boss, Keanu Reeves, who saw past my circumstances to my capabilities. In the audience, Keanu shook his head modestly, but Anna pressed on. His kindness changed my life, but more importantly, it showed me how to change others' lives. We call it the ripple effect, one act of kindness, multiplied through understanding and action. The lights came up as Anna moved to her conclusion. Today, I'm not just sharing our success story. I'm inviting you to be part of it. Every city represented here has its own Annas, its own Jameses, its own Sophies. They don't need charity, they need chance. She held up her old car keys, now retired alongside the melamine plate in her office. These keys once opened the door to my only shelter. Today, they remind me that every person holds the key to their own transformation, sometimes they just need help finding the right lock. The standing ovation lasted several minutes. As people crowded around afterward, sharing their own stories and eager to join the initiative, Anna felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Gordon, the once stern supervisor, now the Foundation's dedicated operations director. "There's someone you need to meet," he said, leading her to a young woman standing nervously at the edge of the crowd. "She's been living in her car, working as a temp. She has an accounting degree." Anna smiled, feeling the circle complete itself. "Hello," she said warmly, extending her hand. "I'm Anna Martinez. Let's talk about your future." Later that evening, the Foundation team gathered in the recovery garden for a quiet celebration. The young woman, Maria, was already settled in the same guest house where Anna's journey had begun. Her mother served homemade empanadas while James distributed rescued pastries from the conference with professional flair. "You know what I remember most about that first day?" Keanu asked, joining Anna on her favorite garden bench. "Not finding out you were homeless, or even deciding to help. I remember watching you clean that pool with such care, like every leaf mattered." Anna watched Sophie teaching Maria's daughter how to tend the garden's newest plants. "Everything matters," she said softly. "Everyone matters." The setting sun painted the garden gold, just as it had that first morning when Anna had arrived with her pool net and her secrets. But now the garden was full of life and purpose, a symbol of growth, recovery, and endless possibility. "So," Keanu said, his eyes twinkling, ready to change the world. Anna looked around at her gathered family, not just her mother, but all of them, Sarah, James, Sophie, Gordon, Maria, and countless others whose lives had become intertwined with hers. Each one a reminder that rock bottom could become a foundation for something greater. "Actually," she smiled, "I think we already are." Above them, the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, each one a point of light in the vast darkness. Like hope, Anna thought. Like kindness. Like change. One small light at a time, spreading until the night itself was transformed.